Here's the truth about parenting. Most of us have no clue what we're doing, but we are experts at making stuff up as we go. So if you ever feel like you suck at raising those little humans, welcome to the club. Every week, I'm talking to some of the most raw, hysterical, and fearless kid raisers I know. Because the truth is, we're all just winging it. Welcome to Parenting on the Fly. Amanda Rodriguez is the author of Dude Mom, a humor lifestyle blog she launched in 2008 after she had her third male child and decided to embrace life as the only princess in the house. In addition to chronicling her experiences as a ridiculously stylish mom of boys, Amanda owns a photography business and works full-time as a digital content producer and social media manager for small businesses and startups who appreciate her witty words and funny gifts as much as she does. Welcome, Amanda.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for being here.
That makes me sound awesome. I'm glad I wrote it.
Well, yeah, you are awesome. You are awesome. That's why you wrote it that way. We have only seen each other. This is like the second time ever face to face, even though we've been virtual friends for a while. So I had written for your blog, Dude Mom, a long time ago before I had my daughter, because I had a blog that was very similar. And so we kept in touch. We've been friends on all the social medias. And then we had the chance meeting, of all places, at the White House.
Yes.
At the White House. Let's take a moment of silence for the White House.
During the presidency we all know and love.
Yes, it was during the amazing Obama administration. And not only was it during that administration, but we got to sit in a room with like 150 other women and hear Michelle Obama speak for like an hour.
Yes.
That was amazing.
Yeah, I still have a massive girl crush on her. And on Obama, I was telling my friend the other day, I was like, I can't even tell you, like the White House is probably watching me for how many times I Google them. Just, see what they're doing right now.
See what he's doing.
See if they put anything on Instagram. Look at Twitter. What is wrong with me?
You just want to see what Barack's up to. What's he's doing with his day.
Maybe I'll run into him somewhere.
You might. You're in Maryland, right?
Yep.
Okay, so he's still down there, isn't he?
Yeah.
Right? So
we actually live very close to like Camp David. So back when they were in the White House, when they would we can see when the helicopters fly over our house when they're going to Camp David, and we're always like, yeah.
Yeah. Well, his family. I mean, I'm in mourning, as I think many of us are.
Oh, for sure.
But that was that was the coolest thing I've ever done because of my role in, online and social media and all that stuff. And it was just, I was in awe. Like you couldn't even take it all in. Like I just was sitting in this gold encrusted room with like all these like draperies and fanciness. And yeah, it was just amazing to take her in and listen to her speak. And she was so beautiful and eloquent and strong and funny.
Right. Her initiatives were so important. I felt good about getting behind them.
Absolutely.
The way that even the whole politics thing, I think I was never somebody who was into politics at all. Maybe I could name who the Speaker of the House was in 96. Don't ask me now. It's like
only in 96.
I never really, concerned myself with. It was like, some old white man will run and win. That's what always happens. So it's like that's what's going to happen. And then Barack came along, and I had my sons, and it was like it became important to them, and it was like they looked up to him so much. And my youngest son, was born in 2008, so he's the only president he ever knew.
Yes. Isn't that amazing to think about, that there are kids today that are living that is the only president they know is a black man in the White House, which I think
he had no idea that, he never would have thought that a black man couldn't be the president. Like he has no reference for that. It's like, well, of course.
Yeah, duh.
He actually called him Okobama because he
Okobama.
little. But it became important then, and then even now it's become even more important because I feel like a little bit of an activist over here because I'm so concerned about the things that are going on. So I think
Absolutely.
that for a lot of people, honestly.
Yeah, having little brown boys is something that it's a beautiful thing, but it's also a scary thing now. And I never thought, so my son started driving maybe 2 years ago, and I never thought I would have to sit down and have a conversation with him and be like, okay, so listen, now that you're driving, this is what you have to be cautious of.
Right.
If you get pulled over, you need to do X, Y, Z, and you might still die, but you still got to try to do X, Y, and Z to be safe. And it's just not something I ever thought that we would still be talking about, like still having to deal with. And having Barack Obama in the White House was a little glimmer of hope. It was like, oh, maybe things are shifting. Maybe things will be changing for my little boys, because your boys are multi-ethnic as well, right?
Yes.
Because you're Black and your husband's what?
Mexican.
Okay, so you're Black and your husband's Mexican. My kids are Irish and Black. So they're still brown though. They're still brown boys, no matter how people categorize them. There's, people look at them and they're like, oh, you're brown. Right. And it's a beautiful thing that he was in office, because people like your son could look at him and be like, oh yeah, duh, of course a Black man can be president. Right. And I still hope, that holds true, because we need that right now.
For sure.
All right. Well, we're going to stop being serious, because this is not what this is about. Okay. We're supposed to be keeping it light.
I've reached my limit of serious. I can only be serious for about 12 minutes in one day, and then I'm done.
Yeah, that's it. And
that's crazy.
All right. So let's take it back a little bit. We're going to take it back to, on your site, you claim that your biggest claim to fame thus far has been on the highly addictive former show, What Not to Wear.
Yeah.
You were actually a contestant on this show how many years ago?
I think it was 2011, 2012, around there. I think the show aired in 2012, but we filmed it in the end of 2011.
Okay, so now when you got this opportunity, were you like, yes, I get to be on with Stacey and Clinton and they get to redo me? Or were you like, I look that bad? For real?
No, there was sort of a mix on that, I'll say, because I had reached a point in my life where I knew I looked that bad. I was like, something has gone dramatically wrong in my life to create this human being who will actually show up at the swimming pool in a full sweatsuit. Why do you even own a full sweatsuit? It's summer. So what are you doing? So I kind of, obviously I had come to a point where I knew something was wrong. I hadn't had my hair cut in 10 years. I gained a bunch of weight when I was pregnant. I felt like I went to sleep, this 22-year-old, just out of college girl, and I woke up a mom of 3 with 70 more pounds and really terrible fashion sense. And I was just feeling really bad. So there was an element of, oh my gosh, this is going to be amazing because they can help me. And then there's also this but hold on, they're going to put me on TV and talk trash about me,
basically
for 40 minutes.
Yeah. Shame you publicly.
Right. Yes, exactly. And, people still come up oh my gosh, that's so cool. And I'm like, but is it? Think about what that says about the person I was to actually make it on that show. Something had to be really wrong.
Really wrong.
In fairness, something was really wrong. So they helped fix that.
They did. And I think anybody who does that kind of thing you have to be a really good sport. You have to be able to look at yourself and laugh at yourself and not take yourself too seriously, because at the end of the day, it is clothing, but clothing can make you feel, it can change your day. Having the right outfit on can change your day. So my son graduated from high school on Saturday, and which was momentous, and the tears could start flowing as we speak.
I'm I can't even talk about it.
It was emotional, to say the least. So I was getting dressed that morning, and I, put on my cute little sundress, and I'm I'm gonna step it up. I'm gonna put on some these cute heels that I bought. I think they're J-Lo. I don't even know, but they were these cute strappy camel colored heels. And I stood in front of my mirror, and then my kids called me downstairs or something, and I couldn't walk down the stairs without holding on to both railings because I don't wear heels that often. And I promptly went back upstairs and put on flats because I was like, you know what? This is not my life. This is not, I am not a Kardashian. I don't rock heels every day. I need to be comfortable. So I wound up putting on a different version of the same shoe, just in a flat because I knew my limit. I knew. So what was your, you mentioned the full piece sweatsuit. Was that your most tragic mom wear at that point in time?
I would say yes, because it was like a Pepto-Bismol colored zipper hoodie capri pants.
What? Wait, what?
Yes, it was capris. It was a capri sweatsuit. Like, I can't
Isn't that kind of an oxymoron? Like, why would you have it be a sweatsuit material if you want your ankles out?
Right, like, are you cold or are you hot? Like, what's going on? And it had like the pockets in the front. It was, Pepto-Bismol, so like hot pink, really, really.
I can see it.
Like the one thing that even my kids are like, can you just never wear that ever again? But it was comfortable, and I don't know, it hid a lot of things that I didn't want seen. So that's why I wore like all of my clothes. The main thing I found out on that show is that everything I was wearing was about 2 to 3 sizes too big. Which I didn't realize because I looked in the mirror and I was like, blah, gross, whatever. Right. Like nothing fits, everything's tight. And I didn't want my clothes touching my body in any way. So I wore all these tints everywhere and like baggy pants and baggy t-shirts that I had since college. And, all these just really big misshapen clothes that were not doing me any service, like in terms of making me look or feel better. So, they helped with that. And I think too, I had this thing where it was like, because I got pregnant with my kids quite young and then became a mom, and I had my last child at 29. So like from 22 is basically this college person to 29. I was like, how do moms dress? Right. My thought of mom dress is like a twin set with like, the elastic waist khakis. I wasn't about to rock that at 29. I'm older, but I'm not that old. Right. I'm not going to put on my nurse shoes and go, to work or whatever. Right. So I think there was that whole disconnect of like, how do you dress as a mom? Because the last time I actually dressed myself, I was wearing like, shorty shorts.
Right. And I think that's something that's changed recently. We both have had our kids really young. So I had my son when I was 17, and looking back, I definitely dressed as a 20-something for a long time because I was like, yo, a mom is like 50. Like that's what that's how old moms are. That's how old moms dress. But I think now there's so many more options available that are still like chic and cute, but age appropriate. Because I see your style now on Instagram and it is super cute. Like you always are rocking, something that's, fitting to your figure and, showing off a little ankle, a little booty or whatever it is. So do you feel like now you've become more comfortable with dressing yourself and, making it, feel like it makes you feel good?
Yeah. No, I think, one, being on the show helped because they sort of helped me just realize that like, this is the body that I have. So until it's not the body that I have, this is what I'm dressing. So I sort of embraced that whole thing. And then I just decided like to have fun. Like my clothes are more expressive now. And if you look at my closet, it's like 90% dresses because I like wearing dresses. It doesn't matter if I'm just going to the grocery store or if I'm going to football. I like wearing dresses. So I wear them to those places.
That's right.
I had this whole thing in my mind where it was like, well, I'm going to play groups. When I did this, my oldest son was like 2 or 3 or something. So, I'm like, I'm going to play group and I'm going to soccer and I can't wear open-toed shoes and I have to wear like, some cruddy jeans or whatever. I just like felt like that's not my life to look cute, but why not? I can look cute no matter what life I'm living. So
of course you can.
I'm looking cute.
Yes, you are, girl. Yes, you are. So do your boys now? So your boys are what ages? Tell me again.
15, 12, and 9. 15,
12, and 9. Do they think you're a cool mom? Do they think you're like, do they think you're like super cute and cool? Yeah. Or are they still?
I could say they think I'm a cool mom because I continuously remind them that I am. But I think it helps. Like a lot of their friends think I'm cool. You know, I try to be fun and open. Like I'm still a mom, and we're not gonna just like hang out and do whatever. But
Right.
you know, I like the same music as them. I can like listen to Fetty Wap. I'm good. You know, I like and my Instagram stream has proved to be a good. They're like, it's so cool that you have like 14,000 fans on Instagram. Like they think that's cool. And I'm verified on Facebook, and my son is always like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. I'm like, it's really not that cool. It's like an application process.
Right. But thank you. Yes, no, it is. You just take that. You take it and you roll with it.
I can say with my middle son, he's between, he's in middle school. It's getting to the point where he's like, okay, mom, seriously, turn the music down. And I'm like, no, bump that.
I love those moments myself. I really do. Even my 18-year-old doesn't get really embarrassed that much anymore, but there was a time period, that middle school time period, that early high school time period where I'd be like, you know, we're in the car. I'm like, oh, that's my jam. And be like, nah, that's my jam. I gotta rock to it. Like, stop, mom, stop for real.
And I'm like, do not touch my radio.
Yeah, exactly.
Turn it up.
I think it makes it even more embarrassing when their friends think you're cool, but they don't. You know what I'm saying? Like my son's friends, you know, think I'm pretty awesome. No big deal. I do some stuff for them, you know, hook them up when I can. And I think he's just like, really? Like, you don't need to do all this. You being real extra right now, mom.
Or he's like, don't talk to my friends. But they said hi to me.
They said hi to me. I have to respond.
Right.
So you are obviously, as we talked about, in a house full of all boys where you are the only queen. I'm gonna call you a queen, lady. You are not a princess. You are a queen. Because in my house, I am the queen and my daughter is the princess.
Right.
What is your biggest challenge in being the only female in your house?
Biggest challenge? Probably the smell, because I have not adjusted to the fact that babies can be quite ripe.
Mm-hmm.
I'm constantly like going around, what is that smell? Is that your teeth? Is that your shirt? Did you put on deodorant? What does that smell? Did you brush your teeth? It's like constant. I'm constantly smell investigating. Who farted? Seriously. Like, that's me. But I think even more than that, and I was just telling my mom this the other day that like, more than the challenges, it's sort of helped me understand the male mind in a way that really would have come in handy like around 16.
Mm-hmm.
But just to like really just being around my boys, and you know, most of their friends when they have friends over are guys. So it's like being around all these boys and older guys and like hearing the things that they talk about and how they talk about women or girls and how they talk about sports and like the things they're interested in, like it's given me a whole new perspective on even my husband. Like raising my boys has helped me even understand my husband more, because I'm like, oh, you were listening, you're just pretending like you weren't listening so as not to have to be held responsible for the things.
You said something, honey? What was that? I missed that. I'm sorry.
You know?
So. Yeah, no, I totally get that. I think my boys have definitely taught me to laugh a lot more at myself, because I was someone who took myself very, very seriously. And I was, you know, I could not be made fun of because I would immediately get offended or upset. And all they do is offend and upset each other. Like all they do is rag on each other and compete with each other and make fun of each other. And then I get it too now, and it's actually really helpful because honestly, life is not that serious, you know. Yeah, so I feel the same. They've definitely given me insight into, because I was a single kid raised by a single mom, so I had no idea what boys were like. No idea whatsoever.
Yeah, my brother is like 6 years younger than me, so he was just some dork.
Right. Some kid living in the room down the hall. But being that we are women and we're mothers, and I think it's really important for mothers to take care of ourselves, because if we don't, we will really have nothing to give.
Mm-hmm.
What's your like one non-negotiable where you're like, this is a thing for me, mommy's gonna do this, I don't care what you need right now, but this is important to me?
Nails, 100%. I get my nails done. I just it's a thing that I wasn't doing. I mean, I wasn't doing anything for a long time. Like I said, I wound up on What Not to Wear, partly because I didn't cut my hair for 10 years. You know, it was this big, and I never took it down. It was in a bun. It was like, the ends were probably like 15 inches of split ends. At the time, my hair was down to my waist. All of that of not taking care of myself, it was like a vicious cycle. I wasn't taking care of myself because I was tired and I was confused and I didn't have high self-esteem at the time and I didn't value myself. But then not taking care of myself just accentuated all those feelings. So, you know, now I think I take more time to sort of step back and say, look, this is what I need. I'm not asking for a lot. I want to go every other week and spend an hour at the nail salon and come back with nails that are fire,
because you deserve it.
Exactly. That's what I want to do. You know, I've given up so many other things. Like, you know, I used to work out like 7 days a week, and I haven't been doing that lately, but it's like, you know, because of work and school things and sports and, you know, all this stuff, like, okay, I let that go, but I'm not going to let every single thing go, because then I turn into that person that I was before, and I wasn't good for anybody.
Right. And I think especially raising boys, I think it's important to show them that we're not maids. Like, we're not like glorified maids and cooks. Like, we are human beings with needs and wants and loves. And when you show your kids that, when you show your boys that, it then makes them realize how human you are. And hopefully that will translate to when they're dating one day or they're getting married or whatever, and they look at their wife and they'll be like, yeah, babe, you need to go take care of yourself because it's really important. You know, I
totally think that if you ask them what my catchphrase was, aside from stop it, probably be, I don't work here. Because I constantly, I don't work here. You can pick up your own stuff. You can help out. You can do this, because that's not my job. Like, I care for you because I love you. I don't care because it's my job to take care of you. I mean, nobody's paying me for this. I'm grossly underpaid.
Grossly.
But it's the same thing, you know, what you're saying. I think it's really important for them to see, like, you know, my husband is really good about that stuff. He values he's constantly telling me, go to the gym if you want, you know, go hang out with a friend, go get your nails done. Why haven't you gotten your hair done? And he's like very supportive of that stuff. And I want my kids to see that as well. You know, you want your future spouse and mother of your children or whatever to feel valuable and to take care of herself. And, you know, so I try to do that. I can say that often I exchange a nap for a lot of that stuff, but that's taking care of me too.
Yes, that is definitely you taking care of you. I also think it's important to, when raising boys specifically, and I don't know what the case was with you and your husband, but my husband, bless him, great man that he is, he was the epitome of a mama's boy. So he was raised in a household where it's just him and his sister and his mother and his father. And his mom did all of the housework. She did all the cooking, the cleaning, the washing, the fixing, the stuff, while the dad went outside the home and made money. And it was really important for me from day one to instill in my boys, like, you will know all the things you need to survive in life. You should know how to do. Like, you should not depend on somebody else to wash your clothes or feed you or, you know, clean. Like, you should know how to do these things, because that's what adults do. It's not a gender thing. It's like, you're a grown-up. This is stuff that grown-ups do. So do your kids like do chores or learn, you know, do all that stuff around your house?
Yeah, totally. I think partly it's a survival thing, because I don't really deal in laundry and whatnot. But
Wait, you don't deal in laundry?
I deal very limited amounts of laundry here. I like have this system. If you could see my basement, I have this system where it's like clean baskets, dirty baskets, and then a sock thing. So like, you know, I may, or at this point, most of my kids, they do their own laundry. My youngest one, I still do a lot of his laundry, but you know, the laundry comes down, it goes into the wash machine, it goes into the dryer, and then it is separated into various baskets. If you would like to engage with it after that, it doesn't go back to your room. It doesn't get folded. It never leaves that area. So
wow.
there was a lot of like, and everybody has their own basket. It's easy, you know? And to be fair, there's a little element of like, two of my kids share rooms, so there's not a lot of space for like clothes storage.
Right.
You know, my mom comes over and I love her. I love her so much. This is just one reason. She'll like go down there and do all of my laundry. And then
my mom does that too.
It's the best, right?
It is.
Like, put it away. And then I'm like, where are you putting it? There's nowhere for it to go. We have a system wherein there must be clothes in baskets at all times. There's nowhere else for those clothes to be.
So there must always be dirty clothes, always, constantly.
I mean,
they're clean, yeah.
They just never get folded, and don't even get me started on ironing. I don't know that we even own an iron.
I do not own an iron. I can tell you that right now, because the other day when my son was getting ready for his graduation, we had to put I had to spritz his shirt and then put it in the dryer because we don't have an iron. My thing that I do not touch is socks. You ask my kids, like, if you want matching socks, that's on you, bro. Like, that's on you, because the socks in my laundry room, like, I have baskets too. Sometimes I put their clothes away. Sometimes they put their clothes away. My 18-year-old mostly does all his own laundry.
Right.
The other two do not. But socks is like my non-negotiable. Like, I will do all this stuff, but I am not sitting there and matching up 32,000 pairs of socks so you can look color coordinated. Like, I'm not going to do it. So there's a bin, and every morning everybody goes into the bin and they're like, maybe this one. Okay, that works.
Yeah, people think that my youngest is a style choice or something because he's worn matching socks, but it's a style choice. So anyway, I have this thing from IKEA, and I just it's like a 3-tier thing, and the socks go in there, and because they wear a certain type of sock, you know, it goes in your bin, and that's where you find it. And they've always been there.
I like that approach. I really, really do, because socks are,
no, but anyway, thank you. I think I agree with you in terms of, like, I want my kids to be able to, not just to be able to care for themselves, but to not expect anybody else to care for them. Like, you know, there's no woman or man or anybody else out there whose job it is, particularly after you leave me, to care for you. So you better be able to make it happen on your own.
Exactly.
Not that I'm requiring that they ever leave me. But.
Oh, speaking of leaving you, we've talked. We talked about once, like, girls and dating. Yeah. So what kind of mother-in-law will you be, do you think?
The kind that lives in your basement, probably.
And hopefully does laundry. No.
Yeah, I don't do laundry, but I will help with children. I don't know. It's the whole, like, mother-in-law thing, and, like, everybody has an idea of what kind of mother-in-law they don't want to be. It's just, I basically want to be like my mom, I guess, minus the help with the cleaning. I don't want to do that. But she's always been a really good part of my kids' lives. Her and my dad, you know, we live fairly close to them, so it's easy in that way. But, you know, she takes care of them. She babysits them. Everybody, like, not just my kids, neighborhood kids call my mom Mimi. She is Mimi. Everybody knows Mimi and loves Mimi. And, you know, I hope that I can be as good of a grandma as she is.
And what about a mother-in-law?
A mother-in-law.
Because we know.
She's a good mother-in-law too. So
No. I'm not asking about your mama as a mother-in-law. I'm asking about how you, Miss Amanda, is going to react when her baby boy comes home with some trollop. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I don't know. It's like there's this whole thing where it's like, you know, I want my older son is very reserved and quiet, and he's not really like on a dating scene or anything yet. I mean, he's like 15, but
right.
I don't want anyone to like him, but then I want girls to like him, like to the point that I'm like, what is wrong with these women? These girls, like, you're cute, you're smart, you're athletic, you're fun, you're tall. What is wrong with these girls? But at the same time, you know, they can stay at their house.
Right. Stay away from my baby.
So it's like I go back and forth with that, but then I don't know. I want them to be happy, and I want to support that in any way that I can. And I hope that I am not somebody who is needy or clingy or manipulative or passive aggressive. I can't stand passive aggressive. I'm a say what I think person. So
amen to that.
That will be in my life. But I hope that they are good at, I think a lot of mother-in-law kid problems come from like the son or daughter not helping to define the relationship with their parent. Because I know, I mean, it's hard. You want your mom around, but you know, you don't want to hurt their feelings, all that stuff.
Right.
I hope that they are open and willing to help me define the relationship, not just for them, but for their spouse as well. And then I just figure they should pick whoever I say.
Right. That makes sense. Just have them line up, be like, nope, 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 maybe, nope.
It's like an application process.
So we know that you love your boys very, very much, and you don't want to let them go. But what is one thing that drives you crazy? Like, what is the thing that they know if this happens, mama's going to lose it? What is that thing?
I don't know. I feel like I lose it in a disproportionate amount. Other moms, I don't know. But I can tell you what I lost it about today. Wet towel in the closet. Because I have found the wet towel in the closet at least 5 times in the past month, and it drives me insane. It's like, I'm like, I smell your towel. I know that, and shoes by the door. I don't want to walk. Like, I appreciate that they take their shoes off. Thank you. That is the rule in this house. But why did I have to sprain my ankle trying to get in over your big size 10 shoes? They don't just take them off by the door. They take them off directly in
front of the door, right?
Like, I tried to open the door and the door swings back and rams me in the face. It's rejecting their shoe as hard as I am.
Oh no!
Things are definitely. And then I have this thing about being honest. Like, there are things that you could possibly get in trouble for, but none of those things are going to get you in trouble as much as if you lied. Like, you know, I'm not saying you're going to get off the hook completely if you tell the truth, but I am saying that if you lie, you're going down.
Right.
So, and you know, it's just like the constant thing. And this is something I got from my mom. Like, if you lie, then I know I can't trust you.
Right.
If I can't trust you, then you can't do the things that you want to do in your life. So,
yeah,
you know, that's one of the things I'm constantly telling them. Like, you have to be honest.
Yeah.
Even if it's hard, even if it's going to hurt my feelings, you still have to do it.
Yeah. And I think that just sets them up because it allows them, you can really put it to them this way. It allows them to be more independent later on, because the more I know with my 18-year-old at this point in time, he can pretty much do whatever he wants to do. I mean, there is some caveats in there, but I know that if he says I'm at so-and-so's house, I know he's at so-and-so's house. If he says I'm going here, there, and the other place, I know he's going those places because of a track record of history, of years of, you know, tiny little steps in that direction. And each step you allow them more rope, you know, you allow them to go out a little bit further and to extend that a little bit further. But that only comes with the consistency of honesty.
Right. And the thing is, like, I want that for you. I don't want to have to micromanage your life every day. And I don't want you to miss out on opportunities with your friends. I want you to go out with your friends. I want you to, you know, get a job and date and, you know, have all of those experiences. And I can't do that if you're not holding up your end of the bargain, which is basically just be honest. Be where you say you're going to be. And if you need to be somewhere else, let me know.
Yep. It's pretty simple.
Yep. One would think, but the teenage mind doesn't seem to work quite that way at all.
Well, you remember what it was like. I mean, I lied all the time. Like, I was not the model child at all. You would ask my mom. Well, you can't ask my mom because she doesn't know that I lied. But
if she listens to your podcast.
Yeah. Sorry, mommy. I love you. That was a long time ago.
Right.
I'm probably gonna get it back in karma with my daughter, so it's okay.
I went in and just didn't have one.
Yeah, that was smart.
I actually was like an awesome child though. When I think back, like, I mean, obviously there was some like I hate yous thrown in there every now and then, but I don't know. I was pretty scared of my parents.
You know what? That is something that I feel like is lacking today for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And I am by no means an old school kind of a person. However, I knew that if I went out to a grocery store with my mom and I was acting a fool, or I was asking her for something, or I was bugging her,
right,
all she had to do was look at me.
Right, exactly.
Look at me. And I'd be like, okay, just kidding. I'm just playing. I'm not doing anything wrong. Like there was,
My mind.
that was it.
That's
Like my mom never hit me. I think she attempted to hit me like once or twice, but it didn't really fly. But she like it was never a physical thing. It was just, I was scared of my mom, not because I was scared of like what she would do to me, but I was scared of disappointing her or making her really upset.
Yep.
So I feel like there are so many kids today, and I hope, I don't think my kids are one of them, but there are a lot of kids who they talk how they want to their parents. The parents are just like, I don't know what to do with him. I'm just going to have to throw my hands up because I don't even know. And well,
literally never the right answer. I'll just throw my hands up.
Yeah, that's never a good answer.
Right.
But
not that one.
I told a friend of mine once, I said, she's not afraid of you. That's the problem.
Right,
like,
right.
I want my kids to I want to be able to look at them and instill fear into their hearts just for the slight little look that I give them. That's all. Because then
that's what mom looks are supposed to do. Right?
Exactly. But I feel like there are a lot of kids that never got those mom looks. They never got those looks. So therefore now they're growing up and they're thinking that they can just do or say whatever. And it's because nobody ever held them accountable. Like, you got to get them before they're a teenager. Like, you got to get them young and scare them young.
I think I never even reached the point. Like, when I was a teenager, there was never any thought in my mind that I was going to speak disrespectful to my mom or dad, that I was going to, sneak out of my house. Like, I could not even imagine. And friends were like, oh, just sneak out. I'm like, are you insane? Like, you are like, something must be wrong with you if you think that I'm going to sneak out of my house. And then people would meet my dad and they'd be like, just kidding, never do that.
You might die.
But like, and it's the same thing. Like, I think my dad maybe spanked me one time and he cried. Like,
right.
It was never even, they didn't touch me. It wasn't like they had to actually spank me, but the thought and the, like, I don't know, like just their faces, it looked like some bad things really happened here. So it never came to that. And I hope that, I have this like back and forth. I'm like, I don't want my kids to fear me as an individual. I want them to fear the idea of going against authority. And I think honestly that helps you in particularly brown kids out in the world. Like, it's going to help you when you go outside of this house, because you need to know that your mouth needs to be shut and that you need to be respectful and you need to make the right choice in lots of situations. We learned that right here at home.
Yeah.
Boy.
Boy, don't you. Have you ever seen the new Karate Kid movie with Jaden Smith? So there's a really good scene in that movie where Taraji P. Henson, he always like throws his coat when he comes in the house, and she goes, "Try, pick up your jacket." And it's just like this little I will hurt you, boy.
My kids saw that, they were like, Mom, she's just like you. Like, I'm the mom from the new Karate Kid, apparently.
Yeah, me too, girl. I'm that mom too. We will say it'll be pick up your jacket, pick up your skates, pick up your whatever. Like, it's always something. But yeah, that that scene always made me laugh. So I was like, yeah, that's what needs to be done. And you know what? He learned today. Okay. Well, thank you again for chatting with me today. I really, really appreciate it. And I hope our audience appreciates all your honesty and humor. And follow this girl on Instagram because her style is crazy. I just love, because it just, what I love about your style? It looks very, and this is not negative, it looks very normal. Like, it's not like, there are some people on Instagram where you're like, come on, the heck on. Right. You do not, I don't have time for for falsies and 5-inch stilettos. Like I don't have time for that. But your style is very mom appropriate yet chic, and I love it.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
And it's
so
affordable too.
That's right. Yes. It's always affordable. It's always from like Target or something. Yeah. I always say if I became like a bazillionaire, which I hope to be one day, I would still buy everything from Target.
Right.
Like I would just have the flyest Target house on the block.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, totally. Because Target is the best. And yeah, I call my fashion functional fashion.
I like it.
For your life. Not going to break the bank. And you can still just, look good and be good and do good and all that.
Yes, ma'am. Well, anybody can check out all of Amanda's amazing posts and pictures on your website, dudemom.com, correct?
Yes.
Yes, and follow her on Instagram and all those, and her verified account on Facebook.
The Dude Mom. I am at the Dude Mom everywhere because somebody out there took Dude Mom, somebody not even using it, mind you. They use Dude Mom. They assign themselves Dude Mom on like every platform. So I'm the Dude Mom.
You are the Dude Mom. That's all. That's all anybody needs to know. Thank you, Miss Amanda.
Yeah, nice talking to you.
If you like this episode and want to hear more tales of making stuff up as we go, please subscribe to our show, give us a rating, and drop us a review. Thanks so much for listening to Parenting on the Fly.